Do we incarnate as animals or not? That's a question I get a lot in my seminars. So the short answer is yes. How do I know? A, I've seen myself as an animal in a past life. And B, I've regressed people who told me a story about how their past life was as different creatures. For example, there's this lady who comes to see me, and her question is whether she should marry her boyfriend of 3 years. They love each other, they live together, everything is fine, but there's something there that she's not sure about. So, of course, we opened a past life file to see what's happening. So we saw her in a past life in Egypt. And she was trained to be a priest, a high priestess. And then they married her, they tried to marry her to an older guy because her family didn't like this spiritual stuff she was doing. So she commits suicide. In another life, she was a lonely fisherman, poor, in Georgia, in Europe. She had her little shack, and she had a little boat, and she would go out to sea, and she would catch some fish, and then sell it in the village. So, and I'm thinking, okay, we had a question about relationship. Why are we getting a lonely fisherman? There are no other characters in this play. So I asked her to go to another scene in this life. And she describes that there's a sea turtle following her boat wherever she goes. And I'm like, that's interesting. From what I know, sea turtles go to shore, lay their eggs, and then go back to the ocean. So I asked her to look into the energy of this marvelous, beautiful creature. And she starts laughing. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And she says, this is Jacob. So I asked her to go to her last, scene, go back upstairs and see what was the plan and how come she chose such a lonely life. And she said she didn't want to marry, didn't want the commitment, there was a commitment issue. But Jacob, the soul of Jacob today, chose to incarnate as a sea turtle because that was the only role that was open in this villager's, in this fisherman's life. So he chose just to be close to her, to be a turtle. So that was quite amazing, and she did choose to marry him in this lifetime. So the question is, why would we choose to be something that is like lower than humans? What is the logic of incarnating as an animal instead of a human? And do we always like evolve and then you become a human and that's it? No, we alternate, and I'll show you why. First off, the experiences you can have, and as each of them is a totally different experience. As a human, you can worry about your mortgage. As a dog, you can learn how to be loyal and obedient and be taken care of. Looking at a domestic dog, of course. So you can learn how to be territorial, how to estimate an opponent if you're a Chihuahua or if you're a German Shepherd. So it's a totally different experience you get to try. And this place is about experiencing and expanding as you go through experiences. This is one angle on it. Another angle would be sometimes that's the only role that's available, like with this lonely fisherman. I have another story from my clinic in which a happily married couple could not bear children. So they went and got a dog from the shelter. Later on they did some fertility stuff, and they managed to have a kid. But in a past life regression, I regressed the husband, we found out that the dog today was their daughter in a royalty life in France. So today, in the beginning of their lives, there was no option for a baby. So the soul chose to come as a dog. It's the best you can get. And it's funny, they did treat her, the dog, like a baby. They would cook her food and got her a blanket. It was so weird. People from the out, observing that would say, yeah, you're spoiling her. Yes, but I'm thinking some of the memories and the feelings from really being their daughter in France, was carried over. And of course, they was devastated when she died. So we do come back and forth. Depends on the need, the circumstances, and you might say that a life as a cat or as a dog is much easier than being a human. So maybe you can rest a little bit and give back the love maybe that you got from the owner in a past life. Now you're a dog and you just give and give and give your heart and your loyalty and your love and your kisses and hugs. So we can choose to become an animal. So if there's a specific animal you feel close to, let's say a lion or a rabbit or a deer or a fox, maybe you have been that one in one of your past lives. Maybe that's why it's your totem today, even a snake or a Scorpio. Just, think about it. What comes up? What do you dream about? What shows up in your reality often? What do you feel close to? What do you identify with? Let's say for me, I was a shaman in a past life here in California. So I'm really close to coyotes and deer and rabbits and hawks, because I've been a hawk. So I would go to the mountains or to nature, and they would just come to me. I would just see them. They'd just show up and always bring messages and stuff. So it's really interesting that we do incarnate as animals and what's the meaning of it today and how it shows up in your life today.